All right, so I want to welcome us on board once again. Good morning, Mr. Tolulokpe, Mr. Tony, good morning, and every other person, including Mr. Diko Ishegun. It's a new trading week. The month of September is gradually going again. Today is 22nd September 2025. So quickly run through our fundamentals and we'll go on the charts to see the technicals. Now, the fundamental today, there will be FOMC member Miran's speech by 5 p.m. later today. And 7 p.m. today, the Bank of England Governor Bailey will likewise give a speech. And it's later in the day, so I would advise us to trade with a lot of caution around that period. But outside that, we don't have any other fundamental event for today. So I'll just quickly go through the important events as we move into the charts to see what we have technically. Tomorrow, Tuesday, by 8:30 a.m., starting from 8:15 a.m. actually, there'll be French Flash Manufacturing PMI, French Flash Services PMI. 8:30 a.m. there'll be German Flash Manufacturing PMI, German Flash Services PMI. 9 a.m. there'll be Flash Manufacturing PMI, Flash Services PMI from the Eurozone again. So from 8:15 to 9 a.m. tomorrow, we're going to have diverse events coming from the Eurozone, so which will impact upon the Euro currency. Now, by 9:30 a.m. tomorrow, there'll be Flash Manufacturing PMI and Flash Services PMI from the United Kingdom. And 2:45 p.m. tomorrow, there'll be Flash Manufacturing PMI and Flash Services PMI again from the United Kingdom. So you can see tomorrow is filled with various forms of Flash Manufacturing and Flash Services PMI. So let us take note of that. And 3 p.m. tomorrow, Tuesday, there will be Richmond Manufacturing Richmond Manufacturing Index and Fed Chair Powell speech by 3 p.m. So tomorrow is loaded with a lot of fundamental activities. So I will encourage us to trade tomorrow with a lot of caution. On Wednesday, the important event on Wednesday will be the CPI from Australia, which will take place by 2:30 a.m. Nigerian time. So let's take note of that. On Thursday, the important event on Thursday, we have some key events from Switzerland, which actually hardly happens. So on Thursday by 8:30 a.m., there'll be SNB monetary policy assessment and SNB policy rate, more like interest rate kind of event by 8:30 a.m. on Thursday. At 9 a.m., there'll be SNB press conference still as regards the policy assessment and policy rate. And on Thursday by 1:30 p.m., there'll be final GDP quarterly from United States, unemployment claims from United States, core durable good orders, final GDP price index. All of them will come up by 1:30 p.m. So we expect volatility around this period on the United States dollar. And finally, on Friday, the key event for Friday this week will be the card GDP, that is gross domestic product from Canada, though it will run simultaneously with the core PCE price index from the United States. And I tell you, this combination could affect the currency pair like the USD card. But then for now, let's just look at them as individual currencies, the Canadian dollar and the American dollar. For the Canadian dollar, it will be the gross domestic product. And for the American dollar, it will be called PCI price index on Friday by 1:30 p.m. All right, so these are the important events for this week. Let's take note of them as the week unfolds. So with that being said, I will switch over now to my chart to look at what the technicals is saying for this week. Now for this week's technical analysis, I will start from the dollar index. That is what is also called the USDX. So this is the dollar index. For some of us that joined our analysis, I think Friday afternoon session, I mentioned that the week seemed like it would close with a rejection candle on the weekly time frame on the dollar index. And that is what, eventually happened. The week closed with a rejection candle. Now, for those who might be new to how trading works, what is rejection candle? Any candlestick with a long shadow and very little or very tiny body is called a rejection candle. So technically, we can see that we have a rejection candle on the weekly time frame that closed last week. And because of that, technically, we're looking at the possibility of an upside movement on the dollar this week. And that will impact heavily upon the currency pair like USD CHF. Because USD CHF, is equally a good instrument that can tell us what will happen to the dollar. Now, for the USD CHF on the weekly time frame, we can see the week closed with a rejection candle, just like what we saw on the dollar index. So that means that from a technical perspective, we might be looking at price making a new high in the course of this week. But then that is on the daily time frame, sorry, weekly time frame. Let's go down to daily and 4-hour time frames. So this is the USD CHF on the 4-hour time frame, and I can clearly draw a falling wedge pattern to indicate how price actually broke out. All right, so we have a falling wedge pattern with price already breaking out above the upper trend line, and that is this region. Now, today being Monday, I suspect there could be a kind of a retracement, meaning we may experience a drop in price, possibly touch the trend line. It's not compulsory to do. If it does, fine. If it doesn't, not a problem. But I think price may drop because of the low level of liquidity or volatility in the market today. Price may drop to retest the trend line and break out after that. Now, if it works that way, that means we may end up having what looks a lot like an inverse head and shoulder, which will trigger price, to the upside. Now, if it works out that way, I'll be taking this region as my neckline region where we anticipate price to break out above before we can look at taking any entry trade on this setup. So I'm anticipating a drop, a retest, and a breakout. And at the close, as a new candle opens above this region, you're safe to take a buy on the USDCG. And if it decides not to touch the trend line, if the price does not touch the trend line, we still experience some slight retracement, which will still give us the completion of an inverse head and shoulder and a breakout. What is important at the end of the day is actually the breakout above that minor resistance. So I'm bullish on the USD CHF on the 4-hour for this week. So that's going to be a swing setup. So I want us to take note of that. Now, as we see a bullish movement on the USD CHF, I'm expecting the opposite on the Euro USD. And why am I expecting the opposite on the Euro USD? One, for the Euro USD, the dollar is actually the quote currency. So while the dollar is going up in the USD CHF, we're expecting to see a bearish one on the Euro USD. Now, there's the Euro USD on the weekly time frame, and price did close with a rejection candle, just like what we saw on the dollar index and the USD CHF. So on Euro USD, we see a rejection candle where the shadow is touching the resistance zone on the weekly time frame. So technically, we have a bearish outlook on this instrument, a rejection candle on the resistance level, and also the trend line touching that same rejection candle as a form of resistance is equally an indication of a potential drop on the Euro USD. If you scale down to the daily time frame, I'm not really seeing much, but on the 4-hour time frame, I'm seeing the formation of a rising wedge pattern. Generally, rising wedge patterns indicate possibility of a bearish movement on an instrument. So I think price may go retest this trend line and drop from there. So I'm bearish on the Euro USD for this week. Next instrument I'll be checking is gold. Gold hit a major high last week, and that's when price hit $3,700 per ounce. Now, price is back to that same level and currently is testing that $3,700 per ounce, which acted as a resistance level last week. Price is back to that level, And there seems to be a resistance also around that region between the tip of this shadow and the candle, the current candle. So price is trading around a resistance level on the 1 hour time frame for gold. Now, there's a little twist here. If price is unable to break out above this resistance zone, then we may be expecting a bearish movement on gold. So if this resistance level holds, then we may see a crash on gold. Now, on one angle, I'm seeing this as possibly forming a double top pattern, which may lead to that bearish breakout. On the other hand, today the dollar is strong, and I'm not aware of any geopolitical tension that could spike the price of gold as at this moment. So there's actually a strong possibility we may experience a kind of a reversal on gold. Now, it may not get up to this neckline region, but then I anticipate the possibility of a bearish movement on gold in the course of today. So we can take it down to 15 minutes time frame, draw a trend line, and a second one to form a rising wedge pattern. And we'll watch this closely in the course of today to see the possibility of a retracement or a reversal in price. But generally, I hold a bearish outlook on gold for today. All right, so next I'll check is the Euro JPY, and I have a swing setup on the Euro JPY. So this is Euro JPY. Let's start from the weekly time frame. On the weekly time frame, we can see that price closed on a rejection, sorry, on a resistance level last Friday, with the candles for last week closing, at least the part of the shadow is not a complete rejection candle in that sense, but then at least a part of the shadow is touching that resistance zone, giving us the possibility of a bearish movement on this instrument. And if we go straight to the 4 hour, we can see that we have a rising wedge pattern, and I'm seeing the formation of a shoulder, a head, a second shoulder, and the possibility of a drop. Always confirm with your RSI below 50 for a sell trade. So I'm bearish on the Euro JPY for this week. Finally, I'm taking the Euro AUD. You can see that there's a lot of emphasis on Euro. I think it was last week or the other week I talked about the AUD instruments, and we saw most of them crash exactly in line with analysis. So this week it looks like the Euro is the major instrument we are looking at for this week. All right, so this is the Euro AUD. On the daily time frame, the market closed last week with a rejection candle on a previous support turned resistance zone up there. So technically, I'm looking for a bearish movement on the Euro AUD. So I flipped down to 1 hour time frame, and this is where we are. Now you can see that price is testing this range zone, which is the previous support turn resistance. All right, so we're having it's not really too clear pattern, but I'm working with what I'm seeing on the higher time frame. We might be seeing a kind of a head shoulder pattern here and possibly a drop. RSI already closed below 50, but is approaching the upper part, but I'm seeing there might be a decline later very soon. And for MACD also, that has crossed below zero. So for this instrument, I hold the general bearish outlook on this instrument. I only need price to break out below that red line I put over there, which is like the neckline region, from where we expect price to trigger in the bearish direction. So I'm bearish on the Euro JPY. All right, so that'll be all from my end this morning. I'll do a little recap on the instruments I've analyzed. And I can see that people are already dropping questions or requests, which I will also check and respond to. I said we're bullish on the dollar index for this week because price closed as a rejection candle on the weekly time frame from last week. So expect price to go on the upside on the major currency pairs, especially I'm talking about the ones where the dollar is the base currency, like the USD CHF. So I said I'm expecting a reversal in price on the Euro AUD for this week. Oh, today. Sorry, this is an intraday setup, so it's today. And I think that's the only intraday setup I'm looking at today. So as a recap, I said that we are bullish on the dollar index, we're bullish on the USD CHF, we are bearish on the Euro USD. For gold, we are also bearish. We're bearish on gold on 1 hour. Euro JPY, we are bearish on 4 hour, and Euro AUD, we're bearish on 1 hour. So that'll be my analysis for this week. With a few taking, kicking off today, while others may actually take off much later in the course of the week. All right, I'm looking at some requests from some people now. John Olusheit is asking me to check GBP USD, and Darlington White is asking me to check DJ30 and NAS 100. Funke AED card, Oyelowo Euro card. Okay, it seems there's a lot of interest around the card pairs, the GBP USD, the AED card, Euro card. Okay, so let's start. Now, from the dollar, since we're bullish on the dollar, there's a very high possibility that GBP USD may be going bearish overall. Now, this is the the GBP USD, pardon me, on the 4 hour. So let's start the analysis from the weekly time frame. All right, from the weekly time frame, price closed as a rejection candle on a resistance level on the weekly time frame. That is an indication of a bearish movement for this week. We don't have anything much on the 4 hour, and likely on the daily time frame, and likely on the 4 hour. Now, this is what I perceive may happen to this instrument in the course of this week. This lower highs, sorry, higher lows, and we have a third higher low here. Price may retrace like it's doing already, then break out further, and that's at that point we may end up having a head and shoulder pattern, which will lead to a final breakout. So that's a confirmation of a bearish movement on the GBP USD. Now, this is going to be swing setup. So I don't know how you trade, whether you're a day trader or you're a swing trader, but this setup is in swing, it's on 4 hour, and it may take some time before it evolves. Okay, so one after the other, I've done GBP USD. I'll look now at DJ30 and NAS 100. For DJ30, I'm not seeing a corresponding resistance that will give me a higher probability setup than what I'm seeing now. But nonetheless, we may just want to put our attention on what is currently available in the market, even though it's not really the best, but we can still manage it pending when a better setup comes up. So for the DG30, this DG30 on the 4-hour time frame, and we can see that price has been trending on this, trend line, making a series of higher highs, price making a series of higher highs. Now in an uptrend, you see a high, a low, a high, a low, high, low, high, low, high, low. So we are expecting this instrument to decline or to sell in terms of direction. Not forgetting that there is a previous minor resistance right here. So possibly in the course of today, we may see a decline in price. Is that an accurate one? I'm just giving a general overview. I don't have a perfect entry setup yet. Now another angle here is this forming possibly a double top pattern. That could also aid the reversal. The best actually would have been to find a channel, a candlestick or chart pattern on the higher time frame, but then I'm not seeing that at the moment. So I'm seeing the possibility of price dropping below this trend line to touch the bigger one in the course of today. So I'm bearish on the DJ30. And NAS 100 is the next one. All right, so this is NAS 100. Let's start from the weekly time frame. All right, there's no clarity around NAS 100 for now, even though it's forming a rising wedge pattern. There's no corresponding resistance because this is the highest price level this instrument has gotten to. Now, you may only look to trade this instrument if price is able to break out below this lower trend line. If that happens in the course of the week, that will be a perfect one. Price may, kind of retrace within this pattern and drop. Very possible. I'm not guaranteeing it for now, but it's a possibility. So if it happens that way, because we don't have any corresponding resistance up here, we have to just depend on the trend line. So if it happens the way I've drawn it, then we may be looking out for a breakout downwards on this instrument. Possibly in the course of the day, or better still in the course of the week. It's a swing setup, so you can watch it throughout the week. I'm bearish on NAS 100. All right, finally, I'll look at the AED card and the Euro card. AUD card and the Euro card. All right, so this is the AUD card. Like I said last week, my view for the market last week was a decline or a bearish movement across board on the AED pairs, and you can see that's what happened to AED card. Currently, there's no tradable setup on AED card, so I will advise that person to trade with a lot of caution. And this is Euro card. All right, so for Euro card, price is trading within a rising wedge pattern that's made a series of higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and the celebrant, oh sorry, the AED card, Euro card, pardon me, where price now hits the trend line at the upper part over there, forming a reversal candlestick pattern, which is a rejection candle. And in the last couple of days, we've seen some bearish movement. Now, this is my view. This is trying to form a head and shoulder, so there may be an upside movement in the short term before the final break and the breakout happens. So technically, I hold a bearish movement on the Euro card, though on the short term, we may see it go slightly bullish before reversing to the downside move. Okay, I will not take anyone after this. I'm seeing Mr. Tony post GBP NZD and David Etcheng is posting BTC. Those are the last two I'll take. GBP NZD, let's check that out. All right, so this is the GBP NZD. Okay, I think we analyzed this instrument on Friday. Uh, price hit a resistance on the daily time frame. Let's start from the weekly. Yeah, there's a big resistance up there on the weekly. There's currently a range on the 4-hour. Okay, this is the 1 hour. We had a bearish movement set up. I think I even dropped the signal on it on Friday. Entry is somewhere around here. Okay, the weekend move seems to be changing the direction of this setup. Okay, if price breaks out above this resistance, I will advise you, if you are still on a trade on your GBP card, sorry, GBP NZD, please close. It's already at a resistance level. There's a possibility it may drop. But if a new candle opens above this resistance, kindly close the trade. Overall, it's supposed to be bearish, but currently, probably because the week is just starting, we are seeing some instability. But then I still favor the bearish movements. But then if price breaks above the current level, you can close it. We may look for a re-entry later, but if it breaks out above this current region, it may go to target this major resistance, and at that point, the stop loss may be wider. Currently, it tried to sell earlier. Even on Friday, there was some bearish movement. But it looks like the market is not so stable. We'll go up, down, up, down. If it breaks out above a new candle up, like I said, close. Otherwise, if it reverses, you may hold. If it reverses downwards, you may hold it. But if not, just close. So wait for the next candle by 8 o'clock to know the next move of the GBP NZD. All right, that will be all from my end this morning session. You're welcome, Mr. Oyelowo. All right, so keep watching out. We have a lot of educative content coming up. Don't forget we have physical training session twice this week, Tuesday and Thursday, 10:30 Abuja office, Lagos, 11 a.m. Make sure you find your way to our offices for these events. And today, Monday and Wednesday, there will always also be online class by 4 p.m. Do make sure that you join us and be active in your group, because we always drop links for events, and we notify you of upcoming programs that we organize at PU Prime. If you're on the platform this morning, you don't have an account with PU Prime, please go over. You can go over to our website, or you can reach out privately to me. I will guide you through how to get started, open an account, verify it, and start trading with us. Okay, that'll be end for this morning. Take care and have a great week ahead. Bye bye.